Welcome back, everyone. With their severe lack of spending power, the Lakers might have a tough time filling out their roster in free agency. They have only one contract available to offer that is worth more than a minimum, which will very likely push them towards taking a chance in a few reclamation projects. And if you have no idea what I mean by that, I'm basically referring to players who were once thought to have a lot of potential, but were then given up on for one reason or another. Whether or not you notice it, we watch it happen every year. A team will take a chance on a player that pretty much everyone else gave up on, and will end up being greatly rewarded for it. For example, two of my favorites from the past season were Garrison Matthews and Caleb Martin, both of which were let go by their former teams and barely even made a 15-man roster. However, they quickly made their former teams look foolish, as they both turned around and had a breakout year, and Garrison Matthews even turned that into a shiny new 4-year contract. In my opinion anyways, the Lakers are far better off trying to do this, compared to again taking a chance on more old and close to being washed up veteran players. In fact, they were already rewarded by doing that with Stanley Johnson and even Wenyen Gabriel a bit too. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at a few more reclamation projects who I think are worth taking a chance on. But without further ado, let's dive right into it. And coming in at number 1, we have Josh Jackson, the 4th overall pick in the 2017 NBA draft. He has already been given up on by a few different teams. But at only 25 years old and with two-way potential, there is definitely some intrigue here. In fact, many people thought that he may have turned the corner during the 2020-2021 NBA season. Following being traded to the newly rebuilding Detroit Pistons, he was able to average over 13 points per game, play good defense, and showed flashes of what made him a former number 4 overall pick. Unfortunately though, that did not carry over into this season. He reverted back into what made his original team give up on him, and ended up being traded again to the Sacramento Kings, where he once again became an afterthought, averaging only 10 minutes per game and putting up a measly 4 points per game on very inefficient shooting. But again, I still believe there's some potential here. All it would take is the right team to give him the opportunity, and I think we have reason to believe that that team might be the Lakers. I mean, they pretty much did the same thing with a very similar player in Stanley Johnson, and if they could do it with Stanley, then who knows, maybe they could do it with Jackson too. Now moving on to reclamation project number 2 though, and here we have Troy Brown Jr., the 15th overall pick from the 2018 NBA draft. Troy Brown is actually only 22 years old yet, and while I would not say that he has been completely given up on, I would say that a majority of teams have lost interest in him, which is really not that surprising. In fact, I would be willing to bet that a few of you did not even know what team he played for. He had a very good sophomore year for the Washington Wizards back in 2020, but unfortunately, he was not able to replicate that. And that led to him being traded to Chicago, where he was then relegated to a lesser role and even fell completely out of their rotation at times too. However, in today's NBA where versatility reigns supreme and switchable wing players being in high demand, I think it's far too early to give up on Troy Brown. He has already proven to have 3-and-D potential, and even a bit more than that as well. No, he may not be a point forward or anything like that, but he has shown the ability to create plays for teammates at times. In addition to that, he is becoming a better off-ball player as well. His 3-point shooting has been improving over time, and he finally shot above 35% from beyond the arc this season. In my opinion, Troy Brown definitely has some untapped potential, and at only 22 years old, I believe he would be a great option to take a flyer on. But now moving on to reclamation project number 3, and here we have Alfred Payne, a guy who drew a few comparisons to Gary Payton when he was drafted that obviously never panned out. And now with him being 28 years old, it appears a majority of the NBA has already given up on him, although I don't think it's fair to do that quite yet. He did have a bad year for Phoenix, but he's proven to be a quality player over his career. No, he may not be a good shooter, which has been the big knock on him, but he does a lot of other things quite well. He can run your offense, play good defense, and while he may not be a good three-point shooter, he does finish well around the rim, all of which could make him a great option at backup point guard. Now, I would not want him to be my secondary point guard option to Westbrook, given that they are fairly similar offensively, but if they were able to trade him, Alfred Payne would be a good, affordable backup plan for them. Now moving on to Reclamation Project number 4 though, and here we have former Laker Isaac Bonga, who although may not have been a lottery pick, he was viewed as someone with a lot of potential, and he may finally be tapping into it too, which is really not that surprising that it took him this long to do it either, because after all, he was only 18 years old when drafted, and is still only 22 years old right now. He has not gotten much of an opportunity in the NBA, outside of 1 year regular playing time with Washington, but he has really showed off his potential in the G League. And most notably, with his ability to be a lockdown defender, he averaged over 1 steal and 1 block per game in the G League this season, which was very impressive given that he often defended the best wing player on the court. He may have a little ways to go in regard to his offense yet, as he does need to work on being a reliable three-point shooter, but I do believe he truly has lockdown defender type of potential. Now moving on to Reclamation Project number 5 though, and here we have DJ Wilson. I mentioned him in my underrated free agent video, but he definitely fits into this category too. The 17th overall pick back in 2017, he never really panned out for Milwaukee, and primarily due to being buried in their rotation. But other than Milwaukee, he has played pretty darn well pretty much everywhere else that he's played. He performed well after being traded to the Rockets in the 4 games that he played this season for the Raptors, and he has played very well in the G League too. It's really hard not to be intrigued with a player of his build. Being 6'10" with small forward abilities, that will typically attract a lot of attention in today's NBA, and that is why he got drafted in the first place. No, he has not been able to put it all together yet, but I don't think he's all that far away from doing it, and whatever team helps him with that will end up being greatly rewarded. Before moving on to our final reclamation project though, I would like to give an honorable mention to Chris Dunn, Kevin Knox, Eric Pascal, and Josh Okogie, all of which were considered for this video, but have a few glaring issues that prevented me from including them, although I would not be upset with any of them being a 14th or 15th guy on their roster. But now moving on to our final reclamation project, and here we have Victor Oladipo, a guy who is pretty much the definition of given up on. Oladipo played for a minimum level contract this season, which is a huge difference compared to the $100 million contract that he maybe could have gotten from Indiana, or from the 2-year, $42 million contract that he actually turned down from Houston. Regardless though, I think we can all agree that he lost a lot of money. And not only that, but he lost a lot of confidence from teams around the league too. After missing nearly 2 entire years while recovering from a torn quad tendon, Oladipo really fell off the map, and in result of that, he went from a near max contract level player all the way down to a minimum level one. Now, he definitely won't be taking that low of a contract again, but I don't think he can demand a big raise either, which could potentially make him a great buy low option for the Lakers. We do need to acknowledge the risk here, with him not appearing to be the same player offensively, and potentially being a bit injury prone moving forward as well, but he might be too good to pass up. Throughout the playoffs, we watched him be a lockdown defender at times, and while he may not have looked the same offensively, he could maybe work his way back into that over time. But with all of that being said, that will conclude my thoughts on Oladipo and every other reclamation project that could be worth taking a chance on. And what do you guys think? Which of them would you like to see the Lakers take a flyer on? Let me know your thoughts by commenting down below and we can talk about it there. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.